Hello, John.
Hi, Patty.
I was beginning to think I was all by my lonesome.
Absolutely not. We got Andrew here and Chief Hagan.
All right.
The important people are here once you arrive, Patty. Come on.
Hi, Mark. Sure looks good to see you in that seat, Dave.
Hi, Patty.
Hi, Ruth. Nice to see you there.
You too.
I think it's Andrew that needs to do that.
Dave, I couldn't hear you. If you were trying to speak with me, you're on mute.
Sorry, Andrew. I got a text that on the website is only linked for tonight is the October 15th, not tonight's.
The YouTube link immediately under the registration link is working. So we're live streaming now, and anyone who wants to watch the meeting can follow that link.
Okay.
And watch the meeting. I did not update that registration link this last time I set up the meeting. That's all on me.
Okay. And we'll see.
Shame, Andrew.
Come on, man. It's one step below Zoomnician. We got to take his title down.
Zoom apprentice.
Zoom apprentice. That's what we
Good,
do.
Roland.
Marie. I'm not missing anyone, right?
Just let me know when you're ready.
Yep. People have joined in where you're waiting for one additional member. I'm going to give it another minute and then we're going to just go. All right, we're going to go for it. Pam, we're good.
Going live in 5 seconds.
Call this Thompson Board of Selectmen meeting to order, November 5th, 2020. And we are virtual once again. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Patty, would you call the roll, please?
David Douglas,
I am here.
Marie Brilliant,
She's still attempting.
Ruth Lyons,
Here.
Matt Nixon,
Present.
and Roland Tufts.
Here.
All present except Marie. Did you say she's trying to dial in?
Yeah, it's last I saw, she was trying.
Hmm.
Thank you, Patty. Town managers report.
Good evening, everyone. Just like to report the town of Topsom successfully held its 2020 general election on November 3rd at the new Mount Ararat High School. A special thanks to MSAD 75 for allowing the town to use their newest facility. Many residents have expressed excitement to be able to see the new Mount Ararat High School, and if I've been contacted, I've probably got about a half dozen phone calls today, just letting us know how great it was to see the new school. For information, by the close of polls, 6,619 ballots were cast from Topsom's 8,391 registered voters, which equates to about a 78.8% voter turnout. This election had the most votes cast in the town's history and resulted in a record number of absentee ballots, doubling the previous record in 2016. We had approximately 5,034 requested ballots and approximately 4,950 were returned. And I'd like to say this work could not have been accomplished without the help of our team of approximately 50 volunteers, the election workers, and town staff. So on behalf of the town and Board of Selectmen, I thank you for making this election successful. And I'd also like to thank Dunkin' Donuts, Wicked Joe's, and Domino's for their donations of food and drink to both voters and staff during the day. And for you, Matt Nixon, for helping us out in the parking lot and directing traffic. So thank you very much. Regarding local election results, David Douglas and Ruth Lyons were reelected to the Board of Selectmen. Nancy Chandler, Douglas Dumont, and Mary Hobson were elected to the first term on the school board, and Sarah Ward was reelected as well. So congratulations and thanks to all of you for serving Topsom. I'm also pleased to report that the town will be receiving approximately $250,000 from DHHS for reimbursable expenses approved through the state Keep Maine Healthy 2020 Municipal COVID-19 Awareness Grant. The state has extended the grant from October 31st to December 11th, which allowed us to revise the grant to fund a $21,000 website redesign with improved content management and communication upgrades. And I expect the new website should be up and running prior to spring. So we're going to get that started here shortly. So very exciting news. The Parks and Recreation Department would like to express a huge thank you to the Topsom Fair Association and American Legion Post 202 for their community partnership by providing a very successful trunk or treat on Halloween this past Saturday. Everyone did their part to make it a safe and enjoyable experience for those that participated. Personally, I would like to thank our director, Pamela Duke, and Kelly LaFountain for their creative efforts that continue to bring some normalcy to our youth and families in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. So thank you, Pam and Kelly. I'd also like to thank the staff for participating and would like to also thank the many local organizations and businesses for making the trunk or treat event possible and successful. They're all recognized on the Parks and Recreation webpage if you'd like to see those businesses and organizations. Parks and Rec has also informed me that Learn to Ski at Lost Valley is now available for registration, as well as Wednesday day passes at Shawnee Peak Ski Area. Please visit the Parks and Recreation webpage for more information. And the director from the Topsom Public Library informed me that they're changing their operating hours to new winter schedule beginning November 1st through March 1st of 2021. The new schedule is as follows: Monday, Friday, and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Parking lot pickup is still available, and there are a variety of grab and go craft STEM kits and other surprises for kids, teens, and adults. Please call 725-1727 for more information. I'd also like to report on several smaller projects currently in town. The Cathin's Water Tower is having damaged wood replaced and will also be receiving a fresh coat of paint, and that work is underway right now. The Town of Topsom sign at the municipal complex, you see that it's missing right now. It's currently being refurbished, and the sign at the corner of Elm and Main Street is being replaced. The colors will be much more vibrant, and I think it's going to be a nice thing to look at on the way into town. Storm drains are being cleaned throughout town. Please be careful when driving around our public works trucks. They're doing a good job and trying to get as many done as possible before the winter. And lastly, the swinging bridge is scheduled for structural improvements November 16th through December 15th. The bridge will be closed and access will not be permitted during this period. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Any questions of the manager? No. Excellent. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
One thing real quick, Dave. Just your mention of the elections, Derek. I'd like to reiterate, or excuse me, I'd like to reverse that thank you and throw that one back at you and the town staff, in particular Linda Dumont and Tyler Washburn, watching the exceptional work that they did to make sure everything went off well from the day that in-person started in the town hall to, what is it now, 2 days ago. Seems like a month ago. But yeah, you guys did an exceptional job. And I think things got off to a little bumpy start because we weren't really expecting how many people are actually going to come out to vote, but things went very smoothly from there on out. And huge thank you to the coffee folks too, because that was definitely worth it.
Thank you. I'll pass that along to Linda and her staff.
Thank you. Nothing else. No boards, no committees. All right, we have reached the most anticipated time of the evening. If you would like to make public comment, the telephone number is 373-5090. I'm here manning that phone. Additionally, if anyone, there is nobody attending Zoom. If you wanted to, if you were here, you could raise your hand and speak if you had any comments. So we will give a couple seconds. Ruth, you had a comment?
Yes, I have a few. First of all, I would like to thank the clerk's office, the town staff, the town manager, and all the volunteers for the great job they did. And going to the new school was really wonderful, made you feel good about voting. So I wanted to be sure and thank them because it was a great job. Having done it for so many years, it was well organized. I also would like to thank the people of Topsom for their support and their faith and re-electing Dave and I. I really care about the people in the town, and it's a pleasure to serve you. I want to vet. She did a great job. She worked very, very hard, and it was appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. 373-5090. We did receive a correspondence Tuesday, I think it was. No, Monday. It does, so if no one has an issue, it is about one of our agenda items tonight. As I've traditionally done, read it during that time, so when we're discussing an item that they're speaking about, it's fresh in mind. It is discussing the police cruiser bid, and I would read Nancy Chandler's letter at that time if no one has any issue, rather than doing it at this moment. I don't see anyone rushing to the phones. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna make a comment, and I've said this. This is Dave Douglas giving a comment. Something that everyone now has a year to talk to their neighbor, talk to their friends, and see if we can see some improvement. I am always a believer that the local offices that people hold, school board, board of selectmen, and even committee members have a greater impact on our day-to-day lives than any presidential candidate or senatorial candidate at the federal level. And again, this year, as I've looked over the tally numbers for the outstanding amount of votes that we had, again, a streak has continued, and that's the number of blank ballots that are on the local races for the Board of Selectmen as well as the school board. There was over 3,400 blank ballots for the Board of Selectmen race, and there were 9,800 blank spots on the school board race. I would challenge everybody prior to an election, learn about all the local races, the people that put in the time. Those are tremendous amount of blanks. And the majority, it's my guess, I don't study it by any means, but sometimes people don't feel confident in voting for somebody, so they just don't vote. I would ask, before that next election, whatever's up again, let's do something to improve that number of blank ballots. I think it's the most important races that we have that are on, and those numbers are massive. In both races, the blank ballots was as many as the second place finisher here for the board. And it was more votes than any of the school board members if you divided it by 4. So talk about being able to change a race, just learning about individuals, I think is important. So that's my soapbox moment, and I'll return to my chair now. So I see nothing. We'll move on. No adjustments. Consent calendar. So we have approval of the minutes of the regular selectmen meeting, but just today, there was noticed in the notes. So Patty, on page 3, under update on planning board designated seat on TDI board, the 3rd paragraph down actually discusses what we're going to talk about tonight. We didn't agree to ask the board of directors of TDI to do anything. So we'll just I think if we remove that paragraph, and I would actually just copy it because I suspect you're going to be pasting it tonight because we're going to take action. So that's the only thing in the notes. So with that change, I'd look for approval of the minutes of the regular selectmen meeting from October 15th, 2020. Do I have I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Passed. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ruth?
Yep.
Okay, you were off to the side. No public hearing, no unfinished business, no old business. Look at us go. We're on to new business. Item 20-80, consideration any appropriate action to accept the recommended bid for a new police cruiser approved in the 2021 police budget. The police chief Hagan is with us, and Mark, I'll have you go over that bid and the bid process, and I'll read the letter afterwards, just so everyone at home understands.
Fair enough, sir. So good evening. The current fiscal police department budget includes funding for one new Ford Police Interceptor cruiser. I recently reached out to 5 dealerships and requested a bid to include a trade-in for a 2017 Ford Interceptor that we have that has just over 101,000 miles on it. We received 4 bids back, with Casco Bay Ford being the low bid at $26,609. So I'm basically here tonight to request permission to move forward with the Casco Bay bid purchase.
All right, I do have a question. I'll get to that letter.
Yep.
So I see your note at the bottom of the bids. Quirk Ford has one on the lot ready to go. It does cost, after you deduct the parts that are already in it, it does cost about $500 more than the lowest bid. Knowing what we went through to get cruisers last year and the length of time that we kept a vehicle that we're probably a little bit concerned about with the mileage and the expense of upkeep, it seems to me that being able to go down and pick up that vehicle right off the bat for a difference of $500 is a minimal amount when I know we can put a safe vehicle on the road immediately. I don't know how the current 2017, I don't know how much that's costing us. Are we investing a lot into it? But it seems to me for $500 and the ability to get it, I think last year we waited 7, 8, 9 months. Because we don't make large purchases.
Right.
You have any thought? Is there anything that would scare you away from that?
No, to be honest with you, I'd be perfectly happy with that. My thought process was, to be honest with you, we don't have enough money budgeted this year. We're going to be probably $2,500 to $3,000 over our current budget of $35,000 by the time we get this cruiser built. And basically, if you all are not aware, in 2019, Ford changed their whole design of their car, which is probably why everybody had so much trouble last year. Because we basically have to buy all new light bars, all new interior equipment, consoles, everything. So my thought process was, as much as I'd like that car, and I'm fine with it if the council's fine with, select board's fine with it. Sorry about
That was
that.
close. I almost reprimanded you.
Yeah. So my initial thoughts were, we're already going to be 2,500 to 3,000 over budget. I wasn't sure how the select board would feel about spending an extra 500 to get the car right now. So I played the safe option and threw out the low bid. But I will not argue with any of you if we can just go take the bid with the car that's currently available to us.
Matt?
Very important question. What color is it?
Black.
Excellent. I personally have no issues with Dave's proposal. I was thinking the same thing myself earlier, especially given how long the lead time was for the last order. I think if there's one there now, let's get it. Makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I agree, and the relatives of that shortfall, I mean, is there a way to fund that?
We're going to, whoop, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to make sure you heard the question.
Yes, you know, we'll find the money somewhere to get the car built up and ready to go, so it's not sitting on the, sitting in our driveway. That's for sure. So we'll find it. To be honest, another piece to the additional expense is it's really important to me to have our cars visible. And I know for a while in the past, our cars were relatively low profile. They didn't have a highly visible decal on the side. And they also didn't have the light bars. And to be perfectly honest, I would rather not have our cruisers hiding for various reasons. One being liability, but more importantly, I want people to see us when we're out there. So we've gone back to having light bars, or we're in the process of going back to having light bars on all the cars and high visibility decals on the side. So there is an extra expense there, which is part of why we're going to be a little bit over budget this year. But personally, I think, and even as a taxpayer, I think it's worth it to spend a little extra money.
I am incredibly happy with that answer right now. It has been a tremendous frustration on my part for how our cruisers were not viewed in the town of Topsom. We don't have a large force. I think not having visibility of our force on the roads, just people seeing that go by their house and it's marked up and you have the light. I think there's I guess it's a comfort level or whatever it may be. You know that you have that in your community. And perhaps you heard me yelling from my living room down to your house, but it's driven me nuts. So I was very happy with your answer.
Okay, great.
I just want to echo that. I didn't like the cars unmarked. And I do think we need to be visible. We need to know our police forces out there, what the residents are paying for. Good job, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to take a second if no one's jumping. We all received a letter from Nancy Chandler, 11 Western Avenue on November 2nd. So I'm going to read this so everyone at home knows that it was sent to us also. I'm writing you as a citizen and taxpayer in Topsom, and I am not speaking for the whole Energy Committee. I was appointed to the new Energy Committee, and we have been discussing the Select Board agenda item on purchase of a new police vehicle. I'm concerned that if Topsom buys another gas-powered police cruiser, it will be a missed opportunity to save money for the town, improve air quality in Topsom, and send the wrong message that it is okay to continue life as normal at this time of rapid climate warming. I've been participating in many of the main Climate Council discussions, planning for adaptation and reduction of risk and damage from the very significant changes in the weather patterns, sea level rise, and warming that is affecting Maine. The Climate Council was tasked by Maine's legislature to recommend the most effective strategies to meet 2019 goals of the Maine legislature to reduce Maine's emissions of greenhouse gases by 45% by 2030 and 80% 2050 from the 2005 levels. The Climate Council, composed of workers in fuel, conservation, farming, forestry, labor, construction, and related state departments with its scientific, economic, technical staff, has recommended 5 areas of action for the legislature, towns, and businesses to take to meet these goals. These include action to protect Maine's natural resources, reduce the worst effects of flooding, sea level rise, health impacts that will result from increased vector-borne diseases and heat extremes. The Climate Council's final report to the legislature and Governor Mills on December 1 will recommend that all businesses and towns in Maine lower their use of fossil fuels dramatically in heating, cooling, transportation, industrial processes. Realistic estimates of current and projected automobile, bus, truck use in Maine indicate transportation is responsible for 54% of our greenhouse gases. The Climate Council strongly recommends rapid shifting to electric cars, school buses, medium axle trucks. Police departments in Brunswick, Wyndham, Falmouth have purchased 2 to 5 hybrid Ford Explorers in the past 2 years, and 2 of the departments are very happy with the benefits of these vehicles. Benefits include a much lower emissions while idling, rapid initial acceleration from 0 to 60, and lower maintenance costs of the electric hybrids. I request Thompson Police Department postpone its confirmation of purchase price of all the gas cruiser and take the time to research the pros and cons of a hybrid vehicle purchase. Advantages of a hybrid cruiser include improved public health from less toxic air emissions, cost savings, or fuel and maintenance. Quick acceleration, good summer and adequate winter range, an example for citizens increasingly popular cars. The town will postpone this decision and will give the Energy Committee time to more fully research hybrid cruisers and planned all-electric vehicles available now or soon. That would serve the police department's needs. Several of the Energy Committee members are interested in providing data and assessing experience with electric vehicles to the Thompson Police Department to aid in their vehicle purchasing process. We have owned two all-electric cars over a period of 11 years and are completely happy with their quiet operation, power, comfort, and range. Nancy Chandler, 11 Western Avenue. So that came to us about this item. Any questions, comments?
I'll comment if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I actually don't disagree with what she's saying about the hybrids. I've spoken to 4 different police agencies that have them. 3 out of the 4 like them very much, and noted everything that you just read. So my issue with the hybrids for this year was partly what I've already told you, which is we're going to be a little over budget this year. And when I spoke to the dealerships, everybody agrees the hybrid is roughly $3,200 more expensive than the gas car. So I already knew we were going to be a little over budget. I figured anywhere $2,500 to $3,000 to add another $3,200. Now we're a little over $6,000 over the budget. So my thoughts with this were that it would just be more appropriate this year to get a car immediately because the other car has over 100,000 miles on it, and to budget appropriately next year and start with the hybrids.
I think that's a perfect, Dave, if you don't mind.
Oh, thank you.
I think that's a perfect solution. We did agree on a certain capital budget, and by we I mean the folks at town meeting, the town's legislature, and I think deviating from that budget too much is not what we need to do. And I would certainly encourage you over the budgeting process, which I mean hopefully is going to start on time, but over the next several months or so to work with Derek, to in turn work with the Energy Committee to see what you can do about thinking about hybrid vehicles inclusion in next year's budget preparation, just as an option, I suppose. But thank you.
I do agree with the hybrid option, and I like, because Mark said next year, in this next coming budget, he's going to be looking at it and reviewing. And these take time to build, like Brunswick has 2, maybe we can get up to 2. We can't do them all at once because of the extra expense, but we can plan and look to do them in the future. Right. Good job, Mark.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Roland.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think we really should be pursuing this. And I guess what I'd like to know, maybe before we get to that session, is what's the total cost of ownership for that vehicle versus the one we're buying now? When you take into account fuel savings, at a given price per gallon, how much is that going to, at the end of the life of the vehicle, how much have we truly paid for the hybrid versus the traditional gasoline engine? So I don't think it'll be as costly as it might seem initially once you factor that savings into the equation.
I can tell you, sir, that from the agencies that I've spoken with, it takes roughly 2.5 years to get your initial increased investment back.
And how often, what's the length of ownership for these vehicles? 4 years?
Roughly 4 years as a frontline car. Then, most police departments move them back to the administrators drive them for, a few years after that, but generally 4 years on the road.
Or at least we're breaking even. I think that was the important thing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I agree, Matt and Ruth, it's making part of this process. One of the things, though, if we are, so we're buying this and they changed the body function in 2019 and we having to buy new things because of the redesign. Did the car companies change the body just enough that this is I'm just trying to balance out, does it make sense to do it right now? If we're updating things anyways, is it the same body in the same interior? So everything always transfers? I'm just trying to balance that out right now.
Yes, sir. Moving forward, everything will fit, until the next redesign, basically. So if we wait another year or if we go now, either way, we're getting the new equipment, but it'll be functional in both vehicles.
Good. All right. Any further questions, comments? Seeing nothing. So I think I'll make the motion because I think this is where the group is. I don't know if I'm going to make the motion that we approve the Quirk Ford bid for the 2020 on the lot vehicle for this year's purchase.
Second,
Any further discussion now that I did that? Nope. All right, Patty, can you take that vote?
I will ask everyone if you're in favor or opposed. David Douglas,
In favor.
Marie Brilliant,
In favor?
Ruth Lyons,
in favor,
Matt Nixon,
In favor.
and Roland Tuss.
In favor.
Unanimously in favor, Chairman.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
20-81, consideration any appropriate action to the changes in the personnel policy that was included in our packet. And now Mark's jumped up, so I guess the assistant town manager is going to handle that one.
Good evening, everyone. So I won't go through the changes at length. You have the red line version in the packet. But essentially, under our current personnel policy, our non-union essentially it's the senior employees, are not allowed to qualify for basically any time off during their probation period. Can't use sick time, can't get holidays paid, can't use vacation time, which can make it a little hard to recruit people. So what we've proposed to do is to basically, the probation period is just going to be that period of time where if your performance isn't up to par, you can be let go quite easily. But you would get the same benefits as any other employee during that period. So you'd be able to accrue and use time off, get paid holidays, et cetera. The other change we have in here is the town manager is able to award up to 5 weeks vacation as he hires senior people. So if he's getting someone from someplace that's used to taking 4 or 5 weeks or having that, he's got that option. So he doesn't have to just limit people to the initial 2 weeks. And then the last is a housekeeping thing that the assistant town manager wasn't listed as an exempt employee. So now it explicitly is in that. So with that, I will entertain any questions.
Ruth?
Mark, the research, what do other communities do? Towns our size, do they immediately let people take time if they need it? Or do they have a waiting period or probation period? Have you researched that?
I have not. My familiar from across the river is that there's definitely probation periods, but that you can also use time. You don't have to wait for your probation to use the time.
Thank you.
You state that it's accrued as well. So it's
Excuse
not,
me?
it's basically, you use it as you accrue it. So it's not as if there's an allotment available on day one per se. The holidays would be available.
The way these policies, and it isn't just written for the new employees, it's written for everyone. You actually get awarded your time as of July 1st, but if you leave the employment of the town before you've, accrue or the appropriate time's gone by, the town takes it out of your final paycheck.
Okay.
So while you get it up front, you're not getting free time and that you can take and leave.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Now, the initial getting the holiday pay, the sick time, vacation, personal, we've done that in the contracts recently also, correct?
Yeah, I was anticipating your question, so I did a quick review of the contracts. Under the police and then the line worker contracts and then in the supervisor contracts, all of them can use sick time from as soon as they're hired. It starts to accrue and can be used. Same thing for vacation. The police get a personal day as soon as they're hired. The other two contracts, you don't get one on probation. Everyone gets holiday pay, all three contracts. And all three contracts, the town manager can award up to 15 days vacation time to a new employee, depending on how he feels their skills are.
Are there any further questions or comments from the board?
I think given, recent experiences, giving Derek this ability to not wheel and deal, but certainly negotiate without having to check in with us every 5 seconds is probably a good idea in today's market. I originally, when I was reading through the document, Derek, I wasn't sure if there are any sort of caps on, or Mark, if there are any caps on limits on what you guys could offer. But I had to get through all the way through the document first. It's down there on page 4. So that reassured me. So yeah, I have no qualms with this. I think we need to be nimble and adaptive in today's workforce. And if anything, the last couple of months have demonstrated that.
Anything further? Seeing nothing. I'll make a motion that we approve the changes in the personnel policy as written in the memo from October 27th, 2020.
Second.
Patty, would you call that roll when you get a moment?
I will. David Douglas.
In favor.
Marie Brilliant.
In
Ruth Lyons.
favor.
In favor.
Matt Nixon.
Favor.
Roland Test.
In favor.
Again, unanimously in favor.
Thank you, Patty. On to 20-82, consideration any appropriate action on the planning board designated seat on TDI board. Assistant Town Manager.
Good evening again. I won't belabor this by giving you the same information I did 2 weeks ago, but you've got the memo. Essentially, some of the choices you might have tonight would be to either not make any changes to the TDI organizational documents, the bylaws, because the town attorney said that there isn't a violation as long as conflict of interest procedures are followed. Another thing you may decide to do is just decide you tell us we want you to make a certain change to the bylaws and make your decision yourselves. Or the recommendation we had at the bottom of the memo a few weeks ago was that you may want to defer, or not defer, but pass the issue on to the TDI board for them to make some recommendations to see whether they think the benefits of having a designated planning board member outweigh the potential issues with the person having to recuse themselves from items that may come later before the planning board or potential conflicts coming up. So with that, I can certainly review things more, but again, I don't want to waste your time since you've already heard from me once.
Go ahead, Ruth.
question, how many years have we had it as it stands now? Quite a few, and it's worked. So I have a question of, it's not working now. Is this why this is brought up?
It was brought up because we were hearing some concerns from community members, because as you know, there's a couple projects that are relatively high profile,
Right.
that are controversial, that are kind of often things start with TDI and then they move on to the planning board. And there's times when the planning board members had to recuse himself from TDI interactions with the project. And so we wanted to make sure that we weren't setting the town up for a situation where we could have liability later, or a way to challenge a planning board decision. Based on the town attorney's advice, as long as the recusals are followed, we aren't.
Right.
But it might be worth not having that overlap, so that you're not having to have someone recuse themselves from the TDI things, or certainly we don't want people that have to be recused from planning board, because it makes it harder to make those decisions.
So the options that have, I don't see anyone's hands jumping up, so I'll go over the options that are given. We can just leave it. We can instruct the TDI board that we want this change, or we can go back to ask them to review it. I'm still, considering in my head where I've been with it, I've been the latter two, either instructing or asking them to review. I guess one of the things I would like to hear from TDI, is there a benefit, and some examples of where having a planning board member there is beneficial, but perhaps there's no voting power. And I don't know those answers. So I just saying that out loud where I'm thinking right now. It certainly does. And a lot of this stuff is based on appearance, right? We may never have that issue, like you said, Ruth, it's been going on for a long time and we haven't, but it's always that appearance. And that's what we probably react to more often than not. So that's where I'm balancing.
The only thing I say about that is that appearance could be with any board or committee, and it has functioned. I would support maybe that planning board person not having their voting power, but able to speak. And if that didn't work, we could go to another plan. Sorry, Matt.
No worries. Technically, or not technically speaking, logistically speaking, the town planner and our economic development director serve as staff on that committee, correct?
Yep.
And our town planner, and so most of the time our economic development director also serve as staff for the, okay, yeah, so you're all nodding your heads. So I'm just wondering if that capacity is being met by staff already in terms of liaising. So if we're concerned about missing a planning board perspective, if we don't have a planning board member as a voting member, I don't think we'd lose that perspective. Excuse me, if they weren't on the TDI board. I do kind of like having someone that's not staff, I think, on the board. So I would go either way on this. I think not allowing them to have voting rights would be an option. And then I'd also be kind of curious to see what the TDI board has to say. I mean, if this is something they want to figure out and report back to us as well. I mean, this is clearly an issue for a lot of people in town, and I think we have opinions on it too. So I'd be curious to see what they have to say. So
Roland.
I could be persuaded either way. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I'm really thinking that, in my opinion, that the best course of action would be to ask TDI to provide us an assessment in terms of what they feel the strengths are of having that individual, part of their organization, and what role they feel it should operate under.
Okay. Marie, do you have anything? Nope. I think I certainly go with, exactly what Roland said. It's kind of where we're all, I don't know, at least three of us leaning, getting a feedback from TDI to look at this, not directing them, but directing them to review it, I guess would be what we're doing. So, and did you have anything further? Ruth, do you have something?
No, I mean, I will go with the board. I just see it functioning for a number of years and has functioned. And I think any of us, there could be a perception about any board or any committee, and to single out one, I guess I have kind of a problem with. So they could be looked at as a conflict or a certain perception. And that's where I have the little bit of a problem. So especially since we've had the town attorney didn't have a problem with it. And like I said, I'd be very happy with a planning board member being on there with not maybe a voting power. But I don't have a problem with TDI as long as they're objective, having a review of it.
And I think we still have that in our back pocket, Ruth. Ultimately, the lawyer has said there is nothing wrong with the setup.
Right.
As Roland said, is for them to go back and look and provide to us why it's important, why it isn't important, I think could be a benefit. And at the end of the day, we still have to come back and revisit it. They may come back with
Sure.
a different opinion and we'd have to approve that. But we do have that in our pocket, that we still have it, that no change is needed, but we would ask you to take a look at it. So I think, so I'll save time. I will make a motion that we request TDI's board to review whether it believes benefits of having a designated planning board seat on its board of director outweigh the drawbacks of that member having to recuse themselves in TDI discussions. And part of that is I would like them to inform us what the drawbacks and the outweigh is, not just simply coming back and saying one or the other. I'd like some examples of.
Second.
I second that.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Patty, it's your moment.
This is fun. David Douglas, are you in favor or opposed?
In favor.
Okay, Marie Brilliant.
in favor,
Ruth Lyons
In favor.
and Matt Nixon
In favor.
and Roland Tuss.
In favor.
100% unanimously in favor.
Thank you, Patty. 20-83, consideration any appropriate action on the appointment to the planning board. We have one opening on the planning board, not a full term, missed about a quarter, as in a year quarter. So it's about a 2 3/4 year appointment. We interviewed 2 individuals tonight, Daniel Flagg, Stephen Matthew, and both extremely qualified for the position, which would be really, I don't want to say it out loud, it'd be nice one day if there was a clear direction that we would go with an individual. But so no, both individuals, as we've always been on a hot streak, we've had really good people coming forward. So we need to appoint one individual, Stephen Matthew or Daniel Flagg. Is there any comments, questions, discussions?
As far as I'm concerned,
Go ahead.
both of these candidates are equally qualified to do what they're going to need to do over the next year and a half, excuse me, 2.5 years, right? Is that the, yeah, 2.5 years. The one thing that stands out for me is one of them has been involved in this process or in some of the larger issues in town for a bit now. And I feel like allowing maybe Mr. Flagg to be involved in the committee, or excuse me, in the planning process might actually go a long way towards helping with a lot of things, I think, in the future. I think there's being able to see some of the internal ways and functioning of certain committees is really helpful for folks. With that said, Mr. Matthew he has a perfect pedigree for this. So like I said, it's a really tough decision for me because they're both extremely qualified, but I'm just trying to think of how we can make impending controversial decisions less controversial. And I feel like doing this or supporting Mr. Flagg might be a way to do that. Does that make
I
sense?
agree. It does, and I agree with you. My worry is the controversy that's already existed. And I don't think I just want to make sure we aren't more controversial than what things are. Because I don't disagree with anything you said. We could pick a name out of a hat, and I think we're fine, no matter what we do here.
Mhm.
Anyone else got chime in? Any thoughts?
I just
Let-
think both are very good candidates. It's a very difficult decision.
Anyone
And
else?
I think Matt framed it very nicely. I think that it's a very good approach in terms of where we need to be today. And then, obviously there are continued openings and planning from time to time. So, it's always good to know there are others interested in the position.
Marie, anything?
I'm just a little concerned of a conflict of interest with one of them. I mean, being as they both are so well qualified, that's the only negative.
All right, we are at a moment. Does anyone want to make the toughest decision rather than putting a name in a hat and pulling one out? We need a motion.
And I move to, oh, sorry. Did anybody have their hand up? I didn't look up.
No, I was looking, I'm sorry, I was.
May I move to put Mr. Flagg in the 2.5-year remainder of the position available on the planning board? That's a horrible motion. I'm sorry, Dave.
No, I
I move to fill the available slot on the planning board with Daniel Flagg.
Patty, write it however you want. We know what he meant. I'll second that. Is there any further discussion?
No.
No, seeing nothing. Patty, would you call the vote, please?
I will. David Douglas, are you in favor of adding Mr. Flagg to the planning board?
I am in favor.
Marie Brilliant?
I'm opposed.
Okay. Ruth Lyons?
I'm opposed. Can I make a comment?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
We're in
Okay,
voting.
Matt
Again,
Nixon?
I know.
Matt Nixon?
In favor.
Okay, and Roland Tufts.
In favor.
That would be 1, 2, 3 in favor, 2 opposed.
Thank you, Patty. We are on to 20-84, consideration and appropriate action on the election of chair for the Board of Selectmen. Arms, anyone?
Right here.
Go, sorry, Roland. I'm going around the screen. That's
Two hands. I don't know. I'd like to nominate David Douglas as chairman of the board for the upcoming year.
I second that.
Any further nominations? Any discussion? Seeing nothing, not two hands anywhere. Patty, would you take that vote?
I'm assuming everyone will be in favor, but I'll have to ask you. What about you, Mr. Douglas?
I am going to say yes.
Marie Brilliant.
In favor?
Okay, thank you. Ruth Lyons.
Favor.
Matt Nixon.
In favor.
Roland Tufts.
In favor.
Favor. That makes you to be the new chairman for the full year. All in favor, unanimously.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, folks. 20-85, consideration any appropriate action on the election of vice chair for the Board of Selectmen. Any question, comments? Anyone want to? Matt Nixon, one hand.
I nominate-
Try two hands next time, please.
I nominate Roland Tufts.
Okay. we
I'll
have
second
Dave.
that. I'll second it.
Go ahead, Marie. Yeah, we got a motion
I'll,
second. Now we got
nominate-
discussions. Any further nominations?
I nominate Ruth Lyons.
So now we have a battle. Do we have a second for nominating Ruth? We do not. Any further nominations? We're going to close it. Why not have a contentious election season continue on? We have a motion and a second. Patty, would you take that roll, please?
David Douglas, are you in favor or opposed to Mr. Tufts being the chairman, being the vice chairman, excuse me?
I'm in favor.
Okay, Marie Brilliant,
In favor.
Ruth Lyons,
In favor.
Matt Nixon,
In favor.
Roland Tufts.
In favor.
That would be unanimously in favor.
Before the most anticipated moment of the evening, one more signature is needed by tomorrow, folks, if someone could stop in so we can pay some bills. Now the most anticipated portion of the evening. Matt, you're still junior.
What's your turn?
I'll second that. All those in favor, we'll go easy on this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. Thank you, folks. We will see you in December. No, November 19th.
No.
November 9th. Geez. See you in November. Thank you.
Thanks. Good night.